I kind of frozen. It was amazing, unexpected. And I thought, oh, wow, so much gold. What am I going to do?
Before she died, archaeologist Eilat Mazar whispered words that still send chills through those who heard them. The tomb is not where we think it is. It was never meant to be found. In her final days, Mazar claimed she had uncovered something buried deep within the city of David. But whatever she found, she warned, should never be unearthed. What terrifying secret lies sealed beneath Jerusalem's ancient heart? Stay with us to know. The city beneath the stones. Jerusalem is not just a city, it is a living monument built upon the bones of its own past. Beneath its narrow streets and towering walls lies a world few have ever seen, the ancient city of David. This place, older than the old city itself, is believed to be the birthplace of Jerusalem as we know it. Hidden beneath layers of earth and time, it holds the keys to one of the greatest mysteries in biblical history, the truth about the kingdom of Solomon and the secrets buried beneath his golden age. Archaeologists describe the city of David as a ridge south of the present-day Temple Mount. It was here, according to ancient writings, that Jerusalem first became the heart of Israel's power. But its story goes back even further, to a time when Canaanite settlers carved their homes into the rocky slopes and built tunnels to reach the Gihon Spring, the city's only natural water source. Over centuries, layers of new civilizations rose above the old, turning the hill into a hidden archive of human history. Deep beneath these layers stands one of the most mysterious constructions ever uncovered, the stepped stone structure. It is an enormous stone terrace built into the hillside with walls so large and thick that their true purpose remains uncertain. When the name of King Solomon appears in ancient texts, it is often surrounded by tales of unimaginable wealth and wisdom. He was said to command armies, trade with foreign empires, and rule over a kingdom where silver was as common as stones. His reign, described in the Book of Kings, represents the height of ancient Israel's glory, an era when magnificent temples and palaces rose across the land. But beneath those stories lies an unanswered question. Where did all of it begin? And what remains of it beneath modern Jerusalem? If the city of David still hides the lost tomb of King Solomon, what other secrets lie buried beneath its stones? And why has no one dared to uncover them? Let's talk about the person who dared to begin that journey, the woman who devoted her life to finding the truth buried beneath Jerusalem's ancient heart. A dynasty of secrets. Eilat Mazar's story began in the heart of Jerusalem, a city where the past breathes through every stone. She was born in 1956 into a family that treated archaeology not as a profession, but as a way of life. Her grandfather, Benjamin Mazar, was one of Israel's most respected archaeologists and the former president of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. His excavations near the Temple Mount reshaped the understanding of Jerusalem's ancient history. Around their dinner table, stories of discoveries and ancient kings were as common as everyday conversation. From an early age, Eilat was drawn to the same world that fascinated her grandfather. While most children played in parks, she spent her time at dig sites, brushing dust off pottery shards under the blazing Jerusalem sun. As a young girl, she often accompanied her grandfather to the Temple Mount excavations, where she learned that every grain of earth could hold the memory of a forgotten world. It was there, among ancient stones and quiet ruins, that her lifelong passion was born. The Mazar family was more than a household. It was a dynasty of scholars. Her cousin, Professor Amihai Mazar, became one of Israel's leading archaeologists, known for his work at Tel Rehav and his balanced approach to biblical history. Together, their family's research covered centuries of Israel's archaeological landscape, from Canaanite fortresses to Israelite temples. Yet Eilat stood apart in one key way. Where others focused only on physical evidence, she believed the Bible could guide the search. To her, it was not merely a book of faith, but also a record of events, places, and people that had once existed. She became known for her fearless approach, digging with a Bible in one hand and a spade in the other. As one journalist described, this method earned her both admiration and criticism. Supporters saw her as a visionary who bridged faith and science, while critics accused her of letting belief interfere with evidence. In a field where neutrality was sacred, her willingness to trust ancient scripture made her both a target and a pioneer. Yet she never wavered. To her, ignoring the Bible in archaeology was like ignoring a map that had guided explorers for centuries. Eilat's career soon became filled with remarkable discoveries. In the city of David, she uncovered monumental structures that reignited debates about the early kingdom of Israel. But her findings did not end there. Near the Temple Mount, she discovered a massive wall that she believed dated back to the time of Solomon. The wall's scale and craftsmanship matched biblical descriptions of royal construction from the 10th century BCE, suggesting that Jerusalem during Solomon's reign was far more powerful and developed than many scholars had assumed. Let's now take you through her quest to uncover the hidden truth about King Solomon and the secrets buried beneath Jerusalem's ancient heart, the biblical map. For most archaeologists, ancient texts are seen as stories, myths passed down through time. But for Eilat Mazar, the Bible was more than just a spiritual document. It was a guidebook written in code. She believed that within its verses lay the directions to Jerusalem's buried past. To her, every line describing walls, palaces, or gates was not symbolic poetry but an ancient map waiting to be read. While others dismissed biblical descriptions as vague or unreliable, she saw them as precise clues. The books of Kings and Chronicles speak of how Solomon expanded his father's city, building great fortifications, a palace, and a temple made with cedar and gold. These passages describe the city stretching northward from the city of David toward what is now known as the Ophel, the ridge connecting the city of David to the Temple Mount. Mazar became convinced that if Solomon truly built such wonders, their remains must still lie buried beneath that very ground. In her groundbreaking 1997 article, Excavate King David's Palace, she openly challenged the field of archaeology. She called on researchers to take the Bible seriously as a historical document, arguing that if they followed its descriptions carefully, they could locate the palaces and fortifications mentioned in Scripture. It was a bold statement, and one that placed her at odds with many of her peers. For decades, biblical archaeology had become cautious, even skeptical. Scholars preferred to rely only on physical evidence, believing that faith-based interpretations could cloud objectivity. But Mazar refused to separate the two. She believed that truth often required both, the words of ancient writers and the stones that lay buried beneath their stories. According to her reading, verses in 2 Samuel and 1 Kings revealed more than history. They hinted at geography. When the text said David built north of Zion, she took it literally. To her, north meant the northern slope of the city of David, not some metaphorical location or later settlement. She combined this biblical detail with the natural topography of Jerusalem, studying how the land's contours, water sources, and elevation could fit with ancient descriptions. By overlaying the text with modern maps and excavation data, she began to see patterns that others had missed. Her approach was both analytical and intuitive. She mapped pottery finds, traced stone alignments, and compared every measurement with scriptural descriptions. The Bible became her compass, guiding her shovel to the most promising layers of soil. Each time she reread a verse, it seemed to reveal a new piece of the puzzle. She believed that faith and science did not have to be enemies. Instead, they could work together to reveal a deeper reality, one where ancient scripture and modern discovery could finally meet. When her maps led her to the large stone structure, you would be surprised to know what she actually found there and what that discovery might reveal about Solomon's own hidden realm. The dig that changed everything. In the summer of 2005, the heat in Jerusalem was unrelenting. The stones shimmered under the sun and dust clung to everything. Eilat Mazar and her team had chosen a small patch of land just above the ancient stepped stone structure to begin a new excavation. To outsiders, it looked like another archaeological trench. But to Mazar, this was the most promising site in all of Jerusalem, a place she believed could hold evidence of Israel's first royal dynasty. Day after day, her team carefully removed layers of earth, recording every stone and fragment of pottery. Archaeology is slow work, more patience than discovery, but something about this dig felt different. The deeper they went, the more the stones began to change. Small, rough walls gave way to massive blocks of finely cut limestone. These were not the stones of ordinary homes. They were perfectly shaped, stacked with precision, and formed the foundations of something monumental. Soon, the outlines of a large building began to appear. It was far grander than anything previously uncovered in this part of Jerusalem. The walls were thick and carefully aligned, built directly above the stepped stone structure below. The two constructions seemed to connect, forming one massive complex that dominated the hillside. Mazar named it the large stone structure. Its craftsmanship was unlike anything seen before in early Iron Age Jerusalem. The team collected pottery fragments from beneath the foundation and sent them for analysis. The results placed the earliest layers of the site in the transition between the late Iron I and early Iron II periods, around the 11th to 10th centuries BCE, the same time the Bible associates with King David and his son Solomon. The dating alone was enough to ignite excitement, but the discoveries did not end there. Scattered around the site, the team found traces of ancient industry, small hearths, ceramic crucibles, and bits of copper waste. These remains suggested that metalworking had taken place nearby, possibly connected to the building's construction. The presence of skilled craftsmanship, imported materials, and high-quality architecture pointed to a structure of great importance, perhaps an administrative center or even a royal palace. As the dig expanded, the true scale of the building became clear. Its rooms were spacious, its walls reinforced with ashlars, large, smooth stones used in monumental construction. Mazar's excitement grew with every new find. In 2007, a setback occurred when part of a nearby ancient tower began to collapse, forcing work to pause for safety. The incident revealed how fragile the interconnected structures were, but it also confirmed that they had once formed a vast complex of fortifications and dwellings that dominated the city's landscape. Despite the challenges, the excavation became a turning point in the study of ancient Jerusalem. For the first time, archaeologists had uncovered a monumental building that could be connected to the city's earliest monarchy. Whether it belonged to David or Solomon remained uncertain, but there was no denying that it marked the rise of royal power in Jerusalem. The discovery captured worldwide attention. Scholars debated, newspapers ran headlines, and visitors flocked to the site to see the foundations of what might once have been the center of an ancient empire. But as the excavation continued, something unexpected caught Mazar's attention. A section of wall that seemed deliberately sealed, as if it were hiding something. But within that grand edifice, behind the blocked wall and the sealed chamber, lay a clue that made her blood run cold. The hidden chamber. The deeper the excavation went, the quieter the site became. The usual sounds of scraping tools and murmured instructions gave way to a tense, almost reverent silence. Beneath the grand walls of the large stone structure, something unusual was taking shape, a discovery that did not fit neatly into any architectural plan. As the team cleared away layers of soil, they came across what appeared to be a narrow, blocked passage. The stones sealing it were neatly arranged, as if placed there on purpose. It was not the work of collapse or decay. It looked deliberate. At first, the discovery seemed minor, perhaps a wall repair from a later period. But as they examined it more closely, the pattern of the stone suggested a sealed entrance. It was smooth and uniform, with no visible signs of wear, almost as if it had been hidden intentionally. Behind it, their instruments detected a hollow space, but without damaging the structure, they could not see what lay beyond. A quiet unease settled over the team. Within nearby layers, strange objects began to appear, fragments of gold leaf, traces of perfumed oil, and small lumps of charred organic material. These were not the remains of ordinary life. They spoke of ceremony, of ritual, perhaps even of burial. The finds were discovered in tightly sealed contexts, as if they had been placed there and then purposefully closed off. For an administrative or residential building, such items made little sense. For a place of ritual or a royal chamber, they were far more fitting. Deeper within the structure, the team uncovered a small vaulted space cut directly into the bedrock. Its alignment puzzled everyone. It did not follow the rest of the palace's orientation. Instead, it faced a slightly different direction, one that pointed toward the Temple Mount. It was as if this chamber had been built for a purpose separate from the rest of the building, a purpose the main structure was designed to conceal. Some walls inside the complex contained what archaeologists call ceiling fills, deliberate layers of stone and earth placed for symbolic reasons rather than practical ones. These fills were carefully arranged, showing that they were not structural reinforcements, but part of a ritual act, possibly to mark closure. Such seals are often associated with tombs or sacred spaces where disturbance was forbidden. Excavations revealed a massive fortification wall that Mazar linked to Solomon's reign. It was built using the same type of stones and techniques found in the large stone structure. To her, this connection was more than architectural. It hinted at a shared purpose. The wall and the palace might have been part of the same royal complex, designed not only for power, but also for sanctity. Mazar speculated that the materials found inside the sealed section, gold fragments, cedar residue, and traces of aromatic oil, might mirror those used in the construction of Solomon's temple. The temple, according to biblical accounts, was built with cedar from Lebanon, overlaid with gold and perfumed with sacred oil. If these same materials appeared here, it could mean that this hidden chamber was no mere storage room. It could have been a place of holiness or royal remembrance. If that hidden chamber was indeed more than storage, could it be the secret tomb of Solomon, concealed within the very heart of his dynasty's seat? Let's find out. The Forbidden Theory. In the final years of her life, Eilat Mazar began to speak less about her discoveries and more about the things she could not reveal. Friends and students noticed a change in her tone. She no longer spoke with the excitement of a scientist waiting to publish results, but with the caution of someone guarding a secret too heavy to share. Beneath the city of David, in the chamber she had uncovered years earlier, she believed something extraordinary and perhaps dangerous was hidden. She once told a colleague that the chamber was aligned toward the Temple Mount. To most, that detail might sound insignificant, but to those who understood the ancient layout of Jerusalem, it meant everything. The orientation mirrored the direction of Solomon's temple itself, suggesting the chamber was not random, but deliberately placed. It hinted at royal or sacred purpose, perhaps a burial or a ritual site directly connected to the temple's spiritual axis. In one of her last interviews, she spoke words that still unsettled those who knew her. "The tomb," she said, "is not where we think it is. It was never meant to be found." The remark came without explanation, but its weight was undeniable. Colleagues who had always seen her as calm and methodical were shocked by the emotion behind her statement. Some dismissed it as poetic or symbolic, yet others sensed a deeper meaning, a warning wrapped in mystery. Several of her former students later recalled moments that seemed to confirm her unease. During excavations, she would sometimes pause suddenly, gazing at the sealed wall in silence. On one occasion, she reportedly turned pale and told her team that opening the chamber could have consequences beyond archaeology. No one knew exactly what she meant, but those who were there said the seriousness in her voice silenced everyone. Jerusalem, after all, is not an ordinary city. It is sacred to three great faiths, each with its own claims to its stones and history. Any discovery tied to King Solomon, the builder of the first temple, could ignite political and religious tension unlike anything before. Mazar understood this. She knew that finding Solomon's tomb or even evidence of it could shake the foundations of belief and ownership in the region. It was perhaps this fear, more than anything else, that made her keep quiet. In her excavations at the Ophel, she discovered coins from the Jewish revolt, a beautiful gold menorah medallion, and clay seal impressions that bore the names of figures linked to the Bible, King Hezekiah and possibly the prophet Isaiah. These finds connected royal, prophetic, and religious history in one sacred space. They showed how deeply Jerusalem's layers intertwined with the stories of Scripture. She died before ever publishing her full findings about the chamber. What she saw, what she suspected, remains locked away in her private notes. But those who heard her final warnings cannot forget them. They speak of a woman who stood at the edge of something monumental, something that reached beyond history into the realm of faith and fear. When she spoke of consequences, was she warning of a scholarly scandal or something far darker that might awaken if that sealed chamber ever saw the light of day? The Whisper Beneath Jerusalem. In May 2021, the world of archaeology lost one of its most determined voices. Eilat Mazar passed away at the age of 64, leaving behind a legacy that was both celebrated and debated. For decades, she had dug through the soil of Jerusalem, peeling back the layers of history to reveal stories that many thought were only myths. Her discoveries reshaped the understanding of ancient Israel, but her final years were shadowed by frustration. Much of her most sensitive research, including her notes about the sealed chamber, remained unpublished, locked away, and protected from public eyes. After her death, the chamber she had identified as possibly linked to King Solomon remained untouched. Officially, it was said to be sealed for reasons of conservation and safety. But within Jerusalem, rumors spread that something more than preservation was keeping it closed. Political and religious leaders were said to be wary of reopening a site that could reignite ancient rivalries or challenge long-standing narratives. For now, the stones remained undisturbed, guarding their secret as they had for thousands of years. Mazar's legacy divided the academic world. To her supporters, she was a visionary who reconnected archaeology with the roots of faith, proving that the Bible still held clues to real history. To her critics, she was a dreamer who sometimes let conviction outpace evidence. Yet even those who disagreed with her methods could not deny the impact of her work. She had changed how people looked at Jerusalem, not as a city of ruins, but as a living testament to a forgotten kingdom. Scholars continued to revisit her findings after her passing. Abraham Faust, a respected archaeologist, re-examined her data and agreed with many of her conclusions about the large stone structure. The dating, he noted, likely did fit within the 10th century BCE, the very period associated with David and Solomon. However, caution remained. Some experts argued that certain structures she attributed to Solomon could have been built later, during the time of his descendants. The debate continued, as alive and intense as it had been while she lived. Meanwhile, technology began to advance in ways Mazar herself could only have imagined. In 2025, researchers introduced a new method of exploration called underground muon imaging at the City of David. This advanced scanning technique, capable of detecting hidden voids deep beneath the ground without disturbing it, offered a chance to see what lay beneath centuries of earth and stone. When scientists reviewed the results, they found evidence of several cavities beneath the very area where Mazar had once worked. Perhaps one day, the sealed passage will be unblocked and the truth revealed. Or perhaps it will remain hidden forever, protected by time, faith, and fear. What lies beneath Jerusalem may hold answers not only about Solomon's kingdom, but about the boundaries between belief and history itself. Was Eilat Mazar truly on the verge of exposing Solomon's final secret, or did she stir up something that was meant to remain buried forever? Share your thoughts in the comments.